Morning, let's remain standing for meditation and short prayer. Thank you very much. You may be seated and good morning. Okay, good morning, honorable members, and good morning. Can we have order, please? Okay, good morning. Ke dumedisele baagi ba Gauteng bo botlhe. Honorable members, we have apologies from MEC Diale, who's on study leave. Honorable Yager, who's going to leave the sitting early. This sitting, I don't think it will go for more than 2 hours, but if you have to leave, that's fine. Honorable Masoleng, who's not feeling well. Honorable Klaba is going to arrive late, if he will still be here. Honorable Mkwanazi is also not feeling well. Honorable Skosana is away on party business. MEC Ramukopa, late arrival, if will still be here. And there's an additional apology from Honorable Waters, Honorable Rasidingwane, Honorable Bloom, Honorable Sharif, and Honorable Sun, I don't know if I pronounced it properly, all due to bereavement. We have in our midst stakeholders, and a friendly reminder to yourselves as we welcome you that you do not take part in the proceedings in the House. You can also not use your phones to take photos. Will the Secretary please read the first order?
Introduction of the Gauteng Provincial Appropriation Bill G004 for 2025-26 financial year.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable MEC Maile. Could you come to the podium, please, and present your report?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Members of the Executive Council, Chief Whip, leaders of political parties, the coordinator of the ANC in Gauteng, Comrade Hope Papo, MMCs of finance and councillors, representatives from the National Treasury and the Auditor General's Office, senior officials of government and municipalities, representatives of business, organized labor and civil society, and a special acknowledgement, Madam Speaker, to the Gauteng Disability Business Chamber, distinguished guests, residents of Gauteng Province, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and privilege to stand before you in this august house on this occasion of retabling the budget of the Gauteng Provincial Government for 2025-2026 financial year. Just over 2 months ago, we stood before you to table the first budget of the 7th administration. The evolving nature of the political and economic milieu in South Africa has necessitated that the new budget be tabled, one that reflects the substantial changes in the resources available for allocation, Honorable Mfikwe, to the service delivery and economic development mandate of the Gauteng Provincial Government. In retabling this budget, we reiterate that under the leadership of Premier Panyaza Lesufi, the Gauteng Executive Council and the administrative leadership of the province, we are deeply committed to building an inclusive and sustainable economy that grows in the hands of the people. This demands reiteration and emphasis because at the core of this budget is an appreciation that efforts to stabilize and strengthen the fiscal position of the Gauteng Provincial Government are fundamentally geared towards making the province work for its residents. We would like to begin by tabling the following documents for the consideration by this House. the appropriation bill for 2025-2026, the explanatory memorandum to the bill, estimates of provincial revenue and expenditure, estimates of capital expenditure, addendum to the estimates of provincial revenue and expenditure, the socio-economic review and outlook, and the budget speech. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to start by submitting the budget. Thank you. Thank you very much. So these documents collectively provide a comprehensive picture on the state of the provincial economy and the roadmap that we are using to improve the fiscal position and overall economic and financial health of Gauteng. The developments that brought us here today were occasioned by extraordinary events at national government, which saw the postponement of the national budget that was initially scheduled for the 22nd of February 2025. The second attempt to table the national budget was made on the 12th of March 2025, but ended with the withdrawal of the Division of Revenue Bill on account of substantive disagreements with the proposed revenue generation measures. The Minister of Finance, Honorable Enoch Godongwana, eventually tabled the national budget to Parliament on the 21st of May 2025. The retabling of the national budget by the Minister of Finance entailed amendments to the 2025 fiscal framework. The national budget also considered political and economic developments in the global arena, Honorable Kumar. These developments precipitated a wave of unprecedented uncertainty worldwide and certainly on the African continent, where we are having to rethink development aid and re-engineer our approach to revenue generation and efficient utilization of existing resources. It is on account of these developments, Madam Speaker, that we wrote to you to withdraw the Provincial Appropriation Bill for 2025-2026 that we introduced to this House on the 18th of March. This was done so that we could retable the budget today in compliance with Section 26 and 27 of the Public Finance Management Act, which instructs that the MEC responsible for finance in a province must table the provincial budget for a financial year in a provincial legislature within a period of 2 weeks after the tabling of the national annual budget by the Minister of Finance. The retabled national budget has opened a window of opportunity for us to make some amendments to the provincial budget to accommodate the priorities that the Premier has publicly committed to in the State of the Province address. These 13 priorities, known as the G13 priorities, are aimed at improving service delivery and amplifying our commitment to host the G20 summit in November 2025. The 13 priorities of the 7th administration, or challenges that confronts the Gauteng province, are water, cable theft and vandalism, non-functional traffic lights, potholes, crime and lawlessness, the mushrooming of informal settlements, electricity, in particular load shedding and load reduction in our communities, the increase in gender-based violence and femicide, drug abuse, service at our hospitals and clinics, not enough schools, failing infrastructure, and deteriorating central business districts and unemployment. While these priorities were stated in the State of the Province address by the Premier, they are not figment of the imagination of the Executive Council. They are an expression of the legitimate voices of the people of Gauteng who, using various mechanisms to communicate to us, stated their needs. In our various engagements with communities and sectors across the province, these issues emerged as key challenges that residents stated as pitfalls to their personal security and development. Premier Lusufi, his Executive Council and officials in the Gauteng Provincial Government are unwavering in the commitment to alleviate these challenges. It is this commitment that anchors this budget. The State of the Province address expressed a clear appreciation of the binding fiscal constraints in Gauteng and the country at large. These necessitate trade-offs and efficiency-driven spending to sustain the momentum critical to realizing our aspiration to alleviate the 13 challenges confronting the province. Honorable members, with a shrinking equitable share and slow economic growth, Gauteng Provincial Government departments must internalize these fiscal constraints and align spending with the 2024-2029 medium-term development plan. We are seeing some slight improvements in the economy, which is projected to experience modest growth, with inflation also expected to moderate, potentially easing to levels within the largest range of the Reserve Bank. This does not negate the reality that the journey ahead of us is going to be difficult, demanding the commitment of the government, private sector, and civil society. While we have instituted practical interventions that are yielding some positive results, the recovery is not linear, nor is it without ongoing challenges. Key industries on which the provincial economy is anchored are still recovering. It is a process that has tested our resolve to overcoming, and as articulated in the medium-term budget policy statement in November 2024, our resolve is unwavering. It is strengthened by a collective and supportive environment and an emphasis on the quality of reforms and service delivery. Governance is at the core of our objectives as we strengthen the economy of Gauteng. Expenditure oversight is one of the most critical interventions needed in the province, alongside keeping the wage bill under control and exploring alternative funding models. This is the surest way that we can manage the province's liquidity and ensure service delivery. Honorable members, the intense debate around this year's national budget has been a worthwhile exercise for the country. While some view the budget tabling process as an indication of disruption, we view it as the clearest expression of the strength and maturity of South Africa's democracy. Minister Gauteng said in his budget speech, and I quote, "As parliamentarians, we have been forced to gain closer knowledge of the various institutional processes that govern the budget cycle and its passing into law. The public has had a front row seat to the growing pains of a vibrant and committed democracy." Close quote. The public has not merely had a front row seat, but has played an instrumental role in compelling the national government to rethink revenue generation strategies. The people of South Africa, in requiring their government to revisit the national budget, asserted their rightful place as patriots and active participants in the designing and constructing of their own future. Indeed, a budget is not just a technical document full of numbers. It is a fundamental instrument that translates political priorities into key government programs geared towards the delivery of public services and the building of the national economy. Thus, the provincial budget that we are tabling today is an expression of the seventh administration's commitment to translate the political priorities as determined by the people of Gauteng into programs of the Gauteng Provincial Government, to which we are all deeply committed. Madam Speaker, the International Monetary Fund projects that world economy will grow by 2.8% in 2025. This is largely because of uncertainties caused by the new US tariffs regime and retaliatory tariffs by other countries. On the domestic front, the National Treasury has downgraded its projections of the real gross domestic product from 1.9% to 1.4% for 2025 due to adverse domestic and global developments. Our situation is compounded by the fact that the global economy is likely to provide less than ideal demand for South African exports, while it has largely stabilized following years of shocks from the pandemic to Ukraine-Russia war. It has stabilized at a relatively low growth rate. South Africa's economic performance remained fragile in 2024. The real economic output of Gauteng, which makes up 33.8% of South Africa's GDP, is about 1.57 trillion. Nominal GDP is 2.43 trillion. Furthermore, Gauteng's real growth rate was 0.8% on an annual basis for 2024. The overall risks to the global and national economy are tilted to the downside, with the escalating trade measures prominent. Gauteng is mitigating against this global instability and domestic challenges by promoting infrastructure investment. In April 2025, the province held its inaugural Gauteng Investment Conference, the aim of which was to catalyze the province's economic momentum and align with our broader regional integration goals as we ramp up efforts to promote Gauteng as a leading global investment and tourism destination. With the investment conference, we set out to showcase high growth sectors in Gauteng. Due to each strong quaternary sector and investment in reindustrialization, the province offers numerous high potential investment sectors. As a province, we aim to attract 800 billion in investment pledges over the next 3 to 5 years. Whilst this might sound like an insurmountable target, we are confident in the investment potential of the province, as well as the existence and further development of the infrastructure that is necessary to convince the global investor community of our capacity. The investment conference successfully secured 312.5 billion in investment commitments across 60 projects. The investment book presented at the Gauteng Investment Conference featured 117 projects across Gauteng's economic corridors, totaling an estimated 239 billion in potential investment. These projects span key economic sectors including infrastructure, smart cities, agro-processing, manufacturing, automotive, ICT, and energy. The investment book also offered investors a curated portfolio of initiatives at various stages of development, from concept to shovel-ready, providing critical insight into Gauteng's development pipeline. Thus, the pledges secured marks a significant milestone towards the province's 800 billion investment target. These commitments span a wide array of sectors, geographies, and investor origins, illustrating Gauteng's growing reputation as Africa's investment epicenter. The Gauteng Provincial Government is working with various institutions, including the University of Pretoria, Gauteng Institute of Business Science, GIBS, to convert these pledges into projects to ensure that what has been committed to the work of the government and the people of Gauteng materializes and facilitates the sustainable economic growth and development that we are pursuing. Honorable members, let me now turn to the fiscal environment and start by emphasizing that government's expenditure is dependent on the availability of revenue collected from various sources, including taxes. Weak economic growth means less revenue for collection. This, by implication, results in a decrease in what the national fiscus has available for transfer to provinces. As such, 2025 medium-term expenditure framework budget was prepared in a tight fiscal environment that required all of us to manage our finances in a prudent and sustainable way, whilst ensuring the provision of basic services to the people of Gauteng. The budget that we are tabling for your consideration today is anchored around, amongst others, the following principles: curbing the growth in the provincial budget deficit, ensuring long-term fiscal sustainability in the challenging socio-economic environment through maximizing own revenue collection, donor funding, blended financing, public-private partnerships, trade-offs, and downscaling or stopping of certain programs. Unlocking allocative efficiency by repositioning existing plans and budget to respond to the Gauteng Provincial Government's policy priorities within the constrained fiscal envelope. Realization of efficiencies in the provincial procurement processes. Focus on ready-to-deliver infrastructure projects that contribute to G13 priorities and protecting vulnerable members of the society. Honorable members, payment of suppliers within 30 days of receipt of invoices continues to be a priority for the Gauteng Provincial Government. In the 2024-2025 financial year, we successfully paid 192,718 invoices to the value of 48.9 billion. The facilitation of these payments was done through our electronic invoice system, which enabled the electronic processing of all invoices received in the province. As we move forward, we are committed to enhancing our processes to achieve operational efficiencies. We are pleased to announce that our new invoice management system, a cutting-edge, advanced technology-driven platform designed to bring innovation and efficiency to invoice processing across the Gauteng Provincial Government, went live on the 1st of April 2025. This smart, fully automated system has replaced the electronic invoice system and aims to reduce delays, enhance accuracy, and provide real-time visibility for seamless invoice processing in the provincial government. An especially important component of the IMS is that it is a giant leap forward in digital transformation, ensuring transparency, compliance, and efficiency. As of today, we have just under 4,000 service provider users that interact with the IMS daily, with close to 20,000 invoices received through our submission channels to date. For our municipalities, ESCOM and other non-trading vendors, we have now extended our extensible markup language purchase order capabilities to this category of service providers to allow for faster invoice processing towards payment, which should improve their revenue collection from provincial departments, entities, and institutions. In the budget speech tabled in March 2025, we stated the intention to establish an invoice ombudsman. We are pleased to communicate that we have completed the terms of reference for the invoice ombudsman and will be taking them to the Executive Council in due course, after which the process of appointing the invoice ombudsman will be finalized. Honorable members, we continue to provide oversight on local government finances. Amongst other things, our objective is to ensure that budgets adopted by municipalities are credible, relevant, and sustainable. In this regard, municipalities are currently finalizing the adoption of their budget for 2025-2026 financial year. Based on tabled budgets, which are due for adoption by the 30th of June, only 4 municipalities, namely the City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, Midvaal Local Municipality, and Mogale City Local Municipality, have tabled funded budgets. The remaining municipalities tabled unfunded budgets, which is a serious concern. We have stated repeatedly that fiscal discipline requires that municipalities maintain fiscal positions that are consistent with macroeconomic stability and sustained economic growth. To reinforce fiscal discipline, the Gauteng Provincial Government and municipalities must fund their requirement within the set budget ceilings. This necessitates large-scale budget reprioritization, making trade-offs, and drive to identify efficiency gains, all with the aim of enhancing the credibility of the provincial and municipal budgets. To this end, Gauteng Provincial Treasury has been providing support to delegated municipalities by conducting budget assessments on the tabled or draft budgets to assist municipalities with improving their budget funding positions. The outcomes of this intervention will be confirmed by the final budget assessments to be conducted on adopted budgets. On revenue matters, municipalities, with the assistance of the Gauteng Provincial Treasury, have conducted cost-reflective tariff assessments to determine if current tariffs adequately cover the full cost of delivering the service. Findings from most municipalities on cost-reflective tariffs, including the comprehensive cost of supply studies, indicates that the calculated cost-reflective tariffs are significantly higher than the current rate, making them impractical for immediate implementation Honorable Msima. Thus, municipalities are having to opt for phase-in approach. As a result, most trading services are currently operating at a loss due to tariffs that do not reflect the true cost of service provision. This challenge is magnified by the substantial distribution losses in water and electricity, which significantly impacts on financial sustainability. Honorable Adams, the Gauteng Provincial Government recognizes that to effectively address non-revenue water challenges in municipalities, a multi-pronged approach focusing on infrastructure improvements, improved water management and governance, and community engagements is needed. This includes repairing leaks, enhancing metering and billing, engaging in community education and implementing smart water management solutions. In this regard, we are engaging with municipalities to explore various options, including but not limited to special purpose vehicles. The effectiveness of these SPVs will depend on municipalities prioritizing the financial ring fencing of water and sanitation revenue, as well as ensuring that they develop a coherent and sustainable revenue generation strategy. Lastly, the total draft capital budget of municipalities in Gauteng Province for 2025-2026, Honorable Fuchs, financial year amounts to 14.3 billion. Sanitation and electricity projects accounts for the largest share of this budget. These are some of the areas identified by Premier Lesotho as part of the 13 challenges that needs to be addressed in the provinces. The draft capital budget indicates that municipalities are invested in addressing the challenges outlined in the State of the Province address. Furthermore, they are ensuring compliance with the adherence to the Budget Circular 130, with most allocating sufficient resources for maintaining existing assets. Right after human capital, supply chain management is undoubtedly the most critical component of supporting delivery of services to the citizens of Gauteng, Honorable Alberts. The convergence of systems, processes, and people in delivering an effective and efficient supply chain management in the province is a critical preoccupation for this political administration. Section 217 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa sets minimum standards for procurement and requires that all government procurement must be in alignment with fair, equitable, transparent, competitive, and cost-effective practices. In the 7th administration, we have sought to understand the capacity challenges of the SCM systems in the province, as it is associated with the issues such as irregular expenditure, incomplete infrastructure projects, litigation to reverse awards or stop procurement processes already underway, high levels of accruals, and late payments. These issues have a colossal negative impact on service delivery, while late payments severely affect small, medium, and micro enterprises. The capacity assessment that we recently completed has highlighted that there is undercapacitation in areas such as contract and project management. Furthermore, we have identified that there has been limited ability to balance compliance and matters of the transformative role of SCM. Our SCM systems need modernization to improve transparency and offer protection to process integrity. Additionally, Member Koma, while there is a good distribution of qualified personnel with relevant graduate qualifications, we have identified concentration of low-skilled personnel operating in requests for quotation processes. To this end, we are working on a personnel recruitment and placement strategy that should allow SCM system to be agile to the needs to balance capacity needs in all critical functions. The provincial SCM system routinely commits in excess of 90 billion in transactions that are contracted with the private sector to deliver goods and services as well as key infrastructure. This is what makes SCM not only an instrument of deepening collaboration between the public and private sectors, but also an instrument for transforming the economy itself. It is our primary objective to ensure that provincial departments and entities in Gauteng receives all their tenders electronically, and that the evaluation of said tenders are conducted through advanced technological means. This digitization is crucial if we are to stem the tide on efficient SCM processes. Honorable Sirota, in this regard, the Gauteng Provincial Government has been working with the Gauteng Management Agency to adopt the advanced procurement system solution that they've already implemented. As indicated in the previous budget, we will this year be piloting that system in at least 5 institutions, and this will be Gauteng Provincial Treasury, Office of the Premier, Department of Roads and Transport, and 2 entities, Constitution Hill and G-Fleet. The training of personnel on the system will be starting in June 2025 and will be followed by the piloting of the system in some sites. This is expected to commence, as I've said, in July. Madam Speaker, the citizens of Gauteng must be assured that we are leveraging and optimizing what has been tested to work and aligns with our current enterprise resource planning system investments. We are doing this collaboratively with relevant stakeholders in the national sphere. We need a raft of measures to turn around SCM and general financial management in the province. Financing institutions must be able to trust that when the Gauteng Provincial Government issues a purchase order, the subsequent processes shall be able to ensure that payment happens timeously in 30 days for all commitments, 15 days for SMMEs in general, and 10 days for township suppliers. This is not simply a matter of SCM efficiency, but an intentional approach towards transforming the economy by making it inclusive and supporting communities on the margins. Soon, Gauteng Province will have a robust system that reflects universal prices for commodities that are consumed by government. The age of disproportionate increased prices by suppliers for the government will and must be eradicated. The Gauteng Provincial Treasury has been working on the market research price data solution, which helps it to source set prices for specific commodities. With these measures, accounting officers and authorities will be empowered effectively and in real time to make decisions that are anchored in competitive prices for budgeting and contracting decisions. More still needs to be done to ensure that we address the capacity to effectively implement a supportive subcontracting regime that eradicates the abusive practice where main contractors do not pay subcontractors. Subcontractors are the backbone of delivery in all functional systems and deserves better support. The Gauteng Provincial Treasury is working on the possibility that subcontractors are paid directly and can have their own purchase orders to ensure transparency and fairness in the contractor and subcontractor relationship. The measures that we are envisaging and putting in place are designed to eliminate corruption, build confidence in the system of procurement, and facilitate inclusive economic growth and transformation. As the provincial government, we are unequivocal in our stance that no business in Gauteng should have to pay an incentive to participate in the economy, but be it to provide services to the state or to receive payments for services rendered. A business must trust that purchase order that it holds is backed by a reliable process from delivery to payment, one that eliminates human interference. Honorable Premier, residents of Gauteng must know that this government is not casual about non-compliance in our departments, entities, and municipalities. This non-compliance is the cornerstone of irregular and wasteful expenditure. As the Executive Council, we must take charge in clearing irregular expenditure by putting it in our delivery agreements with you, Honourable Premier. The clearing of irregular and wasteful expenditure is not just a mundane expectation from the SCM framework, but in itself contains a raft of measures that ensures that consequences follow those incurring them. In that way, remedial steps are taken to strengthen the internal control environment in ensuring compliance with the law and as part of our commitment to clean governance, transparency and accountability. For public funds, the annual financial statements of all Gauteng Provincial Government departments and entities were prepared and submitted by the deadline of the 31st of May 2025 to the Auditor General of South Africa. This is a legislative requirement expressed in sections 40 subsection 1, subsection B, and 55 subsection 1, subsection B of the Public Finance Management Act 1 of 1999. We intend to maintain current audit outcomes and improve them even further. In the financial year 2024-2025, the Gauteng Provincial Government departments collected an amount of 8.4 billion through motor vehicle license fees, gambling taxes, and interest earned on investments. While it amounts to only 5% of the total budget, this revenue is important as it complements our ability to fund service delivery priorities in the province. The Gauteng Provincial Treasury is intensifying efforts to identify areas where there are leakages in our revenue collection processes, including the collection of debt from stakeholders that currently owe the provincial government. We are also finalizing the process of partnerships with the private sector to implement new revenue sharing models that will allow us to generate revenue with the private sector to fund innovative initiatives that we are spearheading. Honourable members, let me now turn to the budget allocations. In the previously tabled budget, we presented a provincial budget of 171.5 billion for the 2025-2026 financial year. Today, we are increasing the budget for this financial year to 172.3 billion. This translates into an increase of 886.6 million. These additional resources, so these additional resources, Chief Whip, were made possible through the provincial allocation of unspent funds and revenue over collection from the previous financial year. 3 weeks ago, there were reports circulating in the media stating that Gauteng Provincial Government had underspent 1.8 billion and that these funds will be returned to National Treasury. On the 12th of May 2025, the Gauteng Provincial Treasury held a media briefing to address the concern that the underspent resources will no longer be available or that they are lost by the Gauteng Provincial Government. We communicated that whatever funds could not be motivated will revert to the Provincial Revenue Fund, and instructively that these funds will remain available for reallocation to programs and projects, and that they were in no way lost by the Gauteng Provincial Government. So that's why, Chief Whip, we are reallocating them. We must re-emphasize that service delivery is a top priority for the Gauteng Provincial Government. The retabling of the provincial budget, informed by the reinjection of the 886 million into the fiscus, is confirmation of the truthfulness of the assertions that we made in the media briefing. We maintain our commitment to ensuring that underspent funds are reallocated to crucial programs and projects to ensure that the residents of our province continue to receive the necessary public services needed to achieve the triple challenges, to alleviate the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and structural inequalities. So, Honorable Dlamini, in your party, nithi indoda eningayithemba. Hithi lapho. In the 2025-2026 financial year, the Office of the Premier will then receive an additional 50 million to fund Nasispani, a skills development initiative spearheaded by the Gauteng City region. Member Ntsek, where's Member Ntsek? She was asking where will the money come from. We have just allocated now for Nasispani. Unemployment remains our biggest challenge, as evidenced by the latest data showing that Gauteng's unemployment rate increased to 13.7%. This inordinately affects the youth and will also necessitate deeper collaboration with the national government and the sector education and training authorities. The Gauteng Department of Economic Development will receive 100 million, of which 60 million will serve as to augment the 40 million allocated at the beginning of the 2025-2026 financial year towards loan funding support for small, medium, and micro enterprises. 40 million has been allocated towards enabling the department to meet the targets towards SMMEs. It is expected that these funds will lay the groundwork for the realization and unlocking of the pledges that made at the recent Gauteng Investment Conference. The Gauteng Department of Human Settlement has been allocated 332 million, of which 232 million is to assist the department to address ongoing challenges in servicing informal settlements with sanitation services. A further 100 million goes towards securing land and finished structures to mitigate against land invasions and other criminal activities like illegal occupation, which are amongst the Gauteng 13 problems as outlined by Premier Lesufi in the SOPA. In the 2025-2026 financial year, a total of 314.9 million will be allocated to Gauteng Department of Roads and Transport. Of this amount, 150 million is targeted at the 54 priority roads across the 5 corridors. 115 million will be channeled towards the repair of traffic lights and street lights. The balance of funds will address the pressures in the department's goods and services budget. For the Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development and the newly established Gauteng Department of Environment, 23.8 million and 18 million respectively are allocated in the 2025-2026 financial year towards capacitating the departments to fulfill their fiduciary and governance functions as they begin life as separate departments. The Gauteng Department of Environment will also receive an additional 50 million in the 2025-2026 financial year to enable it to jointly collaborate with the relevant municipalities in the program to clean and green our province. This initiative is aimed at improving the lived experience of the Gauteng citizenry and to respond to the challenge of unclean public spaces that people of Gauteng have communicated as an urgent issue to be addressed. The allocation of these additional funds demonstrates that the overall thrust of our budget approach remains the resourcing of critical social economic programs that are the basis of social wage with our people. Notwithstanding the increasingly challenging economic environment, budgets for other departments remain unchanged over the medium-term expenditure framework, and they are as follows. The Gauteng Provincial Legislature will still receive 1.2 billion in 2025-2026, and it grows to 3 billion over the MTF period to propel confidence in democracy and improve the quality of life of Gauteng's residents. This total budget includes funding political parties and constituency support. This is to support the increase in the number of political parties represented in the Gauteng Provincial Legislature from 6 to 11 to fulfill their role as public representatives in the 7th administration. The Gauteng Department of Health 2025-2026 financial year allocation amounts to 67.1 billion, and a total of 141.9 billion over the MTF, to strengthen the public health system, to deliver patient-centered equitable care, particularly in underserved communities, through the modernization of infrastructure, digitization of health records, improving governance mechanisms and capacity building to tackle effectively both communicable and non-communicable diseases. In the 2025-2026 financial year, the Gauteng Department of Education received 68 billion and cumulatively 211.2 billion over the MTF to expand access to quality basic education and early childhood development and improve education outcomes for women, girls, youth, and persons with disabilities. They will also be focused on delivering high-quality education across the foundation, intermediate, senior, and the further education and training phases, changing of the education landscape to accelerate relevant and quality learning and the creation of a safe schools environment and the promotion of social cohesion. The Gauteng Department of Social Development receives 5.4 billion for the 2025-2026 financial year and 16.9 billion over the MTF. This is to secure social compacts and partnerships to build a skilled and capable workforce, implement a single window urban poverty and hunger elimination approach, and strengthen support for homeless and vulnerable persons. Furthermore, the department will be offering comprehensive skills development through the integration of skills development initiatives within its various service offerings. The Gauteng Department of Cooperative Governance, Traditional Affairs and Urban Planning will be allocated 551.3 million in the 2025-2026 financial year and 1.5 billion over the MTF to carry out this role of strengthening integrated planning, cooperative governance, and improved oversight and coordination at the center of government. This will be achieved through programs that support development and integrated planning and improving oversight as part of building capable ethical and developmental state in support of outcome 3.1 of the 2024 to 2029 medium-term development plan. In the 2025-2026 financial year, the Department of Community Safety will receive 2.3 billion and 6.8 billion over the MTF to protect, safeguard, and secure communities through improved policing and community safety efforts, establish a safe learning environment through school safety interventions, and monitor the performance of the police stations and metropolitan police departments to ensure that quality service is provided to the citizens of the province. Further to this, the department will be deploying the Gauteng traffic wardens across the province as a force multiplier to strengthen police visibility, and under the supervision of the Gauteng Traffic Police and South African Police Services, be part of the efforts to restore law and order in all central business districts. The Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation will receive an amount of 1 billion in the 2025-2026 financial year and 3.1 billion over the MTF. These resources are aimed at integrating sports and the arts into community development plans with a view to promoting arts and culture into educational settings, in supporting extracurricular activities in the life of each learner in partnership with the Gauteng Department of Education, as well as celebrating diversity through the cultivation of an environment where every citizen feels valued. The department, through strategic partnerships, will bid for and host national and international sport, arts and culture events such as professional boxing, West Rand Marathon, Soweto Marathon, through an allocation of 40.8 million in 2025-2026 and 125 million over the MTF. Mass participation programs to promote a healthy lifestyle within communities will be conducted, including but not limited to the Premier Social Cohesion Munadi Holiday programs, the 6 Indigenous Games tournaments, and Move for Health, for which 7.9 in 2025-2026 and 24.9 million over the MTF is set aside. The Gauteng Department of E-Government is responsible for the expansion of information and communication technology, connectivity across the province, and towards this end has been allocated an amount of 1.5 billion in the 2025-2026 financial year and 4.8 billion over the MTF. Furthermore, the allocation will go towards fund the Gauteng Provincial Network that provides new and maintains ICT and network infrastructure, as well as expansion of Wi-Fi hotspots in all townships as part of the contribution towards improving the living conditions in townships, informal settlements and hostels. The department will also be installing closed-circuit television cameras in townships to strengthen the battle against crime, corruption, vandalism and lawlessness. The Gauteng Provincial Treasury will receive 787.8 million in the 2025-2026 financial year and cumulatively 2.4 billion over the MTF. The Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development's allocation for 2025-2026 financial year amounts to 3.6 billion and cumulatively 10.8 billion over the MTF. These resources are intended to support the economy through the revitalization of central business districts into vibrant economic hubs in a manner that ensures that precinct developments are completed to accommodate Gauteng provincial government departments and regional offices. In addition to this, the department's role extends to supporting a Gauteng city region that is more compact and complex through maintaining social infrastructure investment and delivery and maintenance of the Gauteng provincial government buildings. The department is also at the heart of efforts to reduce youth unemployment by strengthening public employment programs through various job creation interventions such as the National Youth Service Program and expanded public works program. As the custodian of immovable properties, the department is also responsible for payment of rates and taxes to local authorities. The 2025 MTF budget comprises of transfers from the national government with the provincial equitable share growing by an annual average rate of 4% from 133.9 billion in the 2025-2026 to 138.9 billion in 2026-2027 and 144.2 billion in 2027-2028 in the outer years of the MTF. Conditional grants allocations will increase from 28.9 billion in the 2025-2026 financial year to 29.2 billion in 2027-28 in the outer year of the MTF. The adjustment in the data formula of the provincial equitable share has resulted in the overall decline in national government transfers to the province amounting to 6.2 billion over the 2025 MTF. However, additions have been made to the provincial equitable share as part of continued support provided to the province to respond to pressures emanating from the public sector wage agreement. Hence, an average of 1 billion per annum is added to the provincial equitable share for the improvement of conditions of service. In addition, 207.6 billion is added to the provincial equitable share for the Teachers Assistance Program in the 2025-2026 financial year as part of presidential employment stimulus. Despite the downward revision of budgets and reprioritization within and between budget votes, the priorities highlighted in the SOPA are funded in this 2025 MTF budget. We are confident that they will yield a measurable impact in delivering the meaningful change for the people of Gauteng. In conclusion, honorable members, we reaffirm the assertion that we made at the tabling of the medium-term budget policy statement in November last year that the maintenance of fiscal discipline is non-negotiable. We will continue to prioritize the identification of efficiency gains and making trade-offs to fund government priorities. Fiscal discipline demands that the provincial and municipal governments maintain fiscal positions that are consistent with macroeconomic stability and sustained inclusive economic growth. Furthermore, provincial departments and entities must strengthen the exploration of alternative sources of funding to supplement the existing constrained revenue streams and thus enhance fiscal sustainability over the long term. At this juncture of the budget speech, we want to thank Honorable Premier Panyaza Lesufi and members of the Executive Council for the progressive leadership and commitments that they have demonstrated over the past few months. We will also like to thank all members of the legislature for continuing to ensure that checks and balances are in place, ensuring that we do not deviate from our ambitious plans of action to redefine and reaffirm the place of Gauteng in the regional and global sphere. Gratitude is also extended to all the officials of the Gauteng Provincial Government who wake up every morning deeply committed to service delivery for our people. Our partners in the private and civil society sectors are acknowledged for their continued support and holding us to account on our duties. We also wish to once again extend sincere gratitude to private sector companies, both local and global, who by making investment pledges at the recent Gauteng Investment Conference affirmed their belief that Gauteng is a province worthy of its status as the nerve center of the regional and continental economy. Our sincere gratitude also goes to the staff of the Gauteng Provincial Treasury under the competent leadership of the head of department, Ms. Ngumi Samnyani, for the hard work in ensuring the compilation of this budget. We also want to thank members of the media who play a crucial role in our democracy by informing the public, acting as a watchdog to hold us accountable, and facilitating public debate and participation. It is essential for an informed electorate to make responsible choices and hold elected officials accountable. Finally, we want to thank the people of Gauteng for their understanding that through the difficulties that we confront, they remain our main priority. As the provincial government, we will spare no efforts to reach the objectives we have promised to the people of Gauteng, which is a break with inefficient process, a break with corruption and maladministration, a break with fruitless and wasteful expenditure, a break with delayed payments to service providers, and a break with lack of accountability. We commit to progress, improvement in service delivery, and definitive change in how we build a provincial economy that grows in the hands of the people of Gauteng. We wish to conclude by reflecting on the profound and timely words of the great African revolutionary, Amilcar Cabral, who instructed us to always remember that the people are not fighting for ideas, nor for what is in men's minds. The people fight and accept the sacrifices demanded by the struggle in order to gain material advantage, to live better and in peace, to benefit from progress and for the better future of their children. National liberation, the struggle against colonialism, the construction of peace, progress and independence are hollow words devoid of any significance unless they can be translated into real improvement of living conditions. Thank you very much.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Honorable MEC Maile. Okay, thank you very much, Honorable MEC Maile. The documents have already been submitted to the table. So, honorable members, that concludes the business for the day, and the House will sit again on Tuesday, the 17th of June at 10 o'clock. The House is duly adjourned. Thank you.